yelling, "Abort, abort," like this is some kind of CIA mission.
Oh, there he is. Duck.
There were some things that happened in hindsight that I see now, but at the time, I pay no attention to them.
But practice makes perfect.
Is he looking over here?
And the gang from the Sun Gym was about to get lucky.
Okay, all right, let's go. You ready? Don't mess this up.
Mark Schiller is on his way home from his restaurant.
Now.
I usually park in front. That day, for some reason, I parked in the back. All of a sudden, 3 guys approached me from behind. I thought they wanted to steal the car. So I said, if you want the car, take it.
They have tasers, they have guns, and they just begin beating and mostly tasing him.
Come on!
They drag him into a van.
Hurry up, get him in the car!
I was terrified. I just thought it was a hit. They were just going to take me somewhere, shoot me.
Take him up!
They put tape around my eyes. They put me in between the driver's seat and the first bench.
Yeah!
The van races away, and one of the kidnappers makes a phone call.
The Eagle has landed.
And for Mark Schiller, the first hints that this isn't random, it's personal.
Shut it! You don't have the right to live the life you do.
And one of the guys said, you have no right to live the life you do. And I go, oh, so they know me. They were having a great time. You thought that they won the lottery.
Grab that watch, man. That's
They take his presidential Rolex, his jewelry, and then suddenly drive into a warehouse.
So they took me out of the van.
And that's when basically the torture begins.
Then they started beating me with a bat, shock, punching. They were taking turns, I guess.
And finally, the motive becomes clear.
We want to talk about some of your assets. Give us a list of it. Come on.
We want a list of your assets, and I go, what for? I wasn't really panicked because whatever they wanted, they weren't going to get it if I was dead.
But if you want to get to someone, threaten the ones they love.
Your pretty wife and your 2 beautiful, beautiful children.
They told me, if you don't cooperate and give us what we want, we're going to bring your wife and kids here. We're going to take turns raping your wife.
Over and over again.
And we're going to chain your kids to the wall.
Schiller says in that one instant, everything changed.
Okay, I'll do it.
All right, start talking.
So whatever you want, you can have it. But let's make a deal. You let my wife and kids go out of the country, and you can have whatever you want. That's the deal, you know, because that was their leverage. And once they lost their leverage, that was it. At least I thought so anyway.
But the kidnappers had a different kind of leverage in mind.
It's ringing.
They made me call my wife.
Hello.
And I said, hey, she said, where are you? Oh, I'm fine. I had to go on a business trip. Because they would tell me what I had to say. And the next day I said, I want you to do me a favor. Just take a change of clothes and leave the country.
Tonight? Are you kidding?
Leave everything else there just what it is.
Right now, you gotta leave right. Good job, boy. Good job.
His wife is Colombian, and you know, in South America, back then, a lot of times if you were kidnapped, there was a pretty good chance the police were involved. And so with that in mind, when he called his wife and told her, you need to go to your mother's in Colombia and don't call anybody, especially the police, she didn't.
In those first days, Mark had been racking his brain trying to figure out who these guys could be. And then, with one remark, the kidnappers give it away.
We know your assets.
And finally they said, since you're not giving us a list of assets, we're going to give you a list of your assets. Bingo. There was only one person.
How about the $10,000 you got locked up? The $500,000 in overseas account. Condos in South Beach.
They had the list of assets better than I did. So I knew automatically Delgado.
He knew George Delgado was involved, and he had recognized Danny Lugo's voice from prior meetings. So he'd put the pieces together.
What Schiller didn't know was what these guys were going to do next.
Sign right there.
And that starts the making of the perfect crime.
Thank you, buddy.
Because they then have him to themselves. And if he dies, his wife's in Colombia, nobody really knows what happened. She doesn't trust the police. These idiots could actually get away with it.
Coming up, days turned into weeks.
He's signing away his house,
They took his cars.
condos,
They started transferring his bank account money.
everything that that man owned. So at this point, they have to kill him.
George Delgado and his friends have kidnapped Marc Schiller, Delgado's former mentor. They've beaten him and threatened his family unless he turns over his assets. Following their instructions, Schiller has talked his wife into leaving the country with their children. As bad as all that is, the really bad part hasn't even started yet. And Schiller knows that his once good friend Delgado is one of the men responsible.
What was it like for Delgado, standing in the shadows while his associates torture his friend? How he must have suffered. But there were compensations.
It's huge, man. Look at this.
Before Marc's wife and kids were even on the plane, they had moved into Schiller's house.
They liked that house. In the mid-90s, that was an expensive house in Miami. It was in a gated community in an upscale development.
The servant had become the master, and life was good.
They told the neighbors that they were in the CIA.
And the neighbors bought it. Back at the warehouse, they started forcing Marc to sign over his assets to them. Each of them had a role. Lugo was the leader and investment guru. With the first money they took from Schiller, he invested in IBM. Doorbell was the muscle. Delgado provided the inside information.
Well, they started transferring, consolidating all my accounts. I had money in my brokerage accounts, my IRAs, my DJ and Associates, which was my accounting company. The procedure was always the same. They would take me to a chair, put a gun to my head, cock the hammer, and make me talk to the banker and tell them. And a couple of times I had problems because some of these people knew me.
Hi, this is Mr. Schiller here.
And they knew this was normal.
If he refused, the cruelest game of all.
Finally, they said, we're going to play a game. Let's see if you know the game.
Now, I got 2 bullets in this gun.
And it was Russian roulette. Spin the thing right next to me so I would hear it and fire it.
During those weeks, they did more to him than I think people suffer as prisoners of war in horrible countries.
So they pulled the trigger right. They were all started laughing hysterically, and they were all like, they couldn't stop.
Bam!
There was some of it that clearly was just for pleasure.
All of a sudden I hear fire. Then again, fire. And 6 times they burned my arm. I mean, my arm was all burnt.
It wasn't like they would hit him or burn him or torture him when they wanted him to sign something and he refused. They were getting their jollies off here. They were getting excited about torturing this man for no reason.
I was just numb. I mean, it was just, you're almost to the point where you're going to be unconscious.
They fed him very, very little. He lost, according to him, about 40 pounds.
And each day, another asset disappeared.
Sign right there.
They're putting documents in front of him and saying sign. Now he can't see. He's just putting his pen down, they're putting it on the paper, and he's signing his signature.
Days turned into weeks, and they realized, why stop at just a couple of $100,000? Why not take it all? His companies, his real estate investments, his offshore accounts in the Caymans.
He's signing away his house,
They took his cars.
condos,
They started transferring his bank account money.
everything that that man owned. It was actually kind of remarkable that one of the checks was signed sideways. So on some checks, his signature goes across, on some it's below the line, and on some it's actually vertical.
They even started selling the furniture and paintings in the house.
They took everything in the house. They took the jacuzzi, the light switch cover plates. They took all my